Welcome to Sparks 1524. I'm Nathaniel Miller, still coming to you from my secret bunker in Niceville, Florida, located somewhere near the center of the Earth on the surface of the moon. Although I'm in the middle of a long, roundabout move to Tennessee, I'm still writing novels. While I'm here in Niceville, I pulled out book 3 of the Accidental Detective series, entitled And So It Begins, to begin work. It is scheduled for release sometime early next year. And even though I'm traveling, I got time to work on it now and polish it up before I start working with Jerry, my editor, to prepare it for actual publication. The first thing I did, of course, was to work on the folks on the fantail sections, and then I turned to the prologue and I read through the prologue, and I was kind of impressed. It was a good prologue. Most of it was there. I tweaked it a little bit, of course, did some polishing, and then I read through chapter 1, and I went and flushed my head down the toilet. Kidding on that part. But I kind of cringed. Now, I drafted And So It Begins back in 2018. This is 2021. That's actually not that long ago. But in the last year alone, my writing skills have increased exponentially, partly because I've been able to work with my friend Jerry, who is an editor that is far more concerned with the quality of my work than my feelings, and that's a gift you cannot put a price on. But I've also been writing very consistently. Between this blog and my novels, I've been writing almost every day now. And not just writing, but writing creatively. I have a great deal of experience writing almost every day as a journalist when I was in the Navy and freelancing as a civilian. But writing creatively is a different animal. When I looked at chapter 1, my first thought was, wow, this reads like fan fiction I would have written back in high school when I was ignoring my teachers instead of studying. I was faced with a dilemma. And it's a dilemma all writers will face at some point. Do I delete this whole chapter, just kill it and start over? Or do I work with what I have, piece by piece, maybe sentence by sentence? Now, there's no right answer to this type of question. If you talk to a writer, if that writer tells you, do this, you need to run for the hills. That writer is not you. I cannot tell you how to solve such a dilemma. I can tell you how I solved it for myself, but your own workflow, your own thought processes, your own preferences are going to have to dictate how you solve the problem for yourself. Now, for me, I found the easiest thing to do was just delete the chapter and start over. All the plot points I wanted to hit were there. That's not the issue. The issue is the mechanics of how I conveyed those plot points in writing. My skill level in 2018 in creative writing and my skill level today are vastly different. The easiest and most time-saving answer I had was to delete the chapter and just start it over. This is not the first time I've done this. I've deleted a whole book before. When I started drafting Proud Lion, my first novel, back in 2019, it was in November, I wrote for about 4 weeks. I had about 60 pages done, 3 chapters and a prologue. Sat back and looked at it, and it's going to be funny to say this, but I'm a murder mystery writer. The murder was boring. In fact, the whole story as it was developing was so boring that I would have rather sat down and watched a molasses freeze. If I'd kept the book going in that format, it would have been an effective anesthetic to put someone into a stupor before a root canal, but it would not have been a novel anybody would enjoy. I deleted an entire month's worth of work, 60 pages, the whole book, and started over. The only plot point I changed when I did that was moving the murder from the pier onto the ship itself. So the USS Ponce wasn't just the background, she was also the site and the center of the whole case. Other than that, all the plot points were there, I just had to execute them better. That's a funny turn of a phrase since I'm working with murder mysteries. Told you I'm good. The writer's craft is a joy because it is individual to each of us, even as it is, as it's been described sometimes, a cruel mistress, because those of us who are writers, those of us who love it, we get those ideas at 1 in the morning that pulls us out of bed and gets us on our keyboard, or back in the day, our parchment and quill, till 3 or 4 in the morning. But it also means that we can stop and improve something we did a few years ago when we wrote it as a draft and are now trying to get ready for publication. Deleting a chapter, even whole swaths of the book, or like I did a couple of years ago now, the whole book, it may create a lot of work in the short term, but it might save you time in the long term, because working something piecemeal, sentence by sentence by sentence, can take up a lot of time. But again, you have to make that call for yourself as a writer. Don't let any other writer tell you what to do. Let them counsel you, give you advice, give you perspectives to consider. But as the saying goes, you do you. Otherwise, you will be stymied. I thank you for your time. If you'd like to read more about this, I have linked my column on this topic below. Coming soon is a 3-part series on the Naval Aviation Museum in Pensacola, Florida, as I return to my travel logs. But of course, the writer's craft is never far from my mind. Until we meet again, just remember to go and always do great things.